Today we're transforming the AX24 from this to this. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we got our hands on a whole pile of upgrades for the AX24 from NexxSpeed. Now we're going to be completely transforming my son's green AX24 into this red aluminum anodized alien looking creature. NexxSpeed has done a really great job with their chassis kits and their components. They bring a level of creativity and uniqueness to their chassis kits and their parts, but also maintain a good degree of functionality and added performance. And the chassis kits and things we're going to be putting on the AX24 today are no exception. But it's always fun to do something different, and my son's going to dig it. So why don't we jump in and take a look at the parts that we got, and then we'll start the assembly. So let's take a look at our upgrades here. We've got a whole pile of stuff to transform the AX24 from NexxSpeed here, so I'm looking forward to. This is going to be a lot of fun. So I'll go from my left to right here. So let's kick this off. First off, we've got a pair of servos. This is a full Metal Gear digital servo. It comes with the mount, your plastic horns, and I see it's got a red anodized aluminum horn in there. We've got two different chassis kits to choose from. Now these are very, very similar. The difference being with this one here gives you a cage for the roof, so it really transforms the whole look of the truck, reminiscent of the NexxSpeed conversion that we did for the deadbolt. If you've seen that video, I'll link that down below if you want to check that out, but gives it kind of a futuristic, almost reptilian look. And you get this, you can see the black component here. This is going to be our roof line there. This is virtually the same kit, except you do not get the roof line. And then we have some wheels and some inserts here. These are 1-inch wheels, 1-inch beadlock wheels, red anodized aluminum with some heavy brass rings for the rear. Now I was instructed to use the brass rings in the rear and these new 3D printed inserts in the front. So these inserts are interesting because it's a 3D printed insert, but you've got these brass weights plugged in throughout. So I'm anxious to see how these perform, to get these on a scale, but a lot of weight with these. Not a lot of conformity. They're very stiff, I gotta say. To think about how to use these. It's interesting. This is an insert and also acts as the ring. It's locked on here with the bead lock. Interesting concept here. This is going to be interesting to try out. So for our chassis kit, I think I'm going to go with the one with the roof. This is going to be on Axel's rig, and I can just imagine the more outrageous we can make it, the more he's going to like it. So I think this is going to be our combo here that we're going to use to transform his AX24. So why don't we get into it? I'm going to open all this up. I'm going to start installing it. I'll take you guys along with me and kind of hit some of the highlights as we get into this. But let's open these up, start tearing apart his AX24, and we'll get after it. Let's see what we got. Our instructions here, we're going to follow along. So step one is going to require some stock parts. So I need to disassemble the stock AX24 chassis because I need the upper links, front and rear. So I'm going to do that right now. Step one complete. So what I did, I basically tore apart the whole AX24 while I was taking the links off. I figured I might as well do it all then. So I got the skid, the motor, front and rear ends off. I took the upper links off and have attached them to the rails here. Now the manual identifies the spots where you put them. In the front, it's this upper corner. In the rear, it's the last one towards the rear on the lower level of positions here. Now we'll see how this performs. We can always readjust these if necessary, but this is how they're identified in this first step. Next step is we're going to start assembling the body itself, it looks like. So there's a bunch of steps that go along here and the tub together, if you will. So we've got this plastic piece on the bottom. We start to put the roof together. It's like an LED tray. Oh, I thought this was a bumper. It's an LED tray. So it looks like I'll have to take my rock lights out, and you got 4 spots for your rock lights in the very front. So that's going to look pretty cool. So we'll do that next. Man, NexxSpeed's got to work on its sustainability here. I got so many little plastic bags. I got bags and bags and bags. So this first step, this chassis piece here, we got this kind of dip here, goes in the front and on the bottom. So it's going to sit like this. Next we put the rails on here. Now it looks like it already has hardware in here for our rails, so this should be a pretty easy step. So with both of our white kind of cross pieces out, we put the roof pieces on. We don't attach these yet because the side rails are going to run through here as well. So just kind of rest them in here. Now I'm putting the actual roof on. It looks like the roof rests on the bigger screw in the back, and the Phillips screw actually goes into the roof. So it looks like if you want to run the light bar here, that actually goes underneath the roof and needs these bottom screws here. So I need to back these out to put my light bar in and then retighten them. You can see there's our light bar. So when we pop the rock lights out, we'll just stick them in here and you'll have 4 lights going across horizontally on the roof. So now we're moving on to the final step of assembly here, and it's just pulling everything together. So here's where things are going to get a little crazy here. So we've got these shock plates here, 4 of them, 1 for each corner. So how we're going to do this, and take our rails, they're going to go onto the white chassis here, like this. These shock plates with the aluminum machined edge on the outside go right here. And then this is how you mount the shocks. The shocks, you're going to have lots of positions on these kind of arms that stick out in the back. Oh boy, I think that's one right there. This thing is, man, this is crazy looking. You ever seen the movie Starship Troopers? It's starting to look like the arachnids from Starship Troopers. It's got kind of that posture to it. Yeah, that's what I'm envisioning here. If it was black and yellow, it'd be like spot on. So I think that's like one side right there. See how that looks? Ended up doing the upper hole on this shock arm, and that seemed to level things out. So I'm just going to repeat this on the other side. Okay, here's this thing that's coming along. I am not sure how I feel about the roof part of it. To be determined. What I've done is put the skid in with the motor and everything, put my ESC on my electronics tray. Just want to make sure everything fit. Battery is going to sit right here in the front. Make sure I got plenty of room for it to plug in. I'm going to hook up my axles, my front and rear axles here, and then I'll situate my shocks. So I'm going to do that right now. See how this thing looks. We're in the home stretch here. It should come together pretty quickly now. Having issues with my fitment. What I'm seeing is that the motor is colliding with the linkage here. So that's not good. The 50 size motor might be too big for this chassis. I mean, looking everywhere I put the links, I'm going to have binding issues with it. Even if I put it underneath there, the link action, it's going to be hitting that motor. So I might have to pull out the 50 size motor and put in the 30 sized again. So quick pivot here. I didn't have any other 30 size motors other than stock, which is unfortunate. So what I've done is I put the Spectrum Firma brushless motor in here. The motor itself, the canister, fits perfectly. No interference with the linkage. But having to stick this ESC on top of the receiver combo just has this stack of electronics that is really not ideal, and I'm not happy with this setup. But hey, it's for my son and he's not going to care. This motor's got lots of power. Not a great slow crawler, but for what he does, it's going to be perfect. So he'll probably dig it. It's going to drive me crazy, but this is what we've got so far. So I want to make room for the battery there. Now I'm going to revisit my axles and start hooking things up. So remember in the beginning when I showed you those servos that I was going to do and I was really excited for? They're for the FCX24, not the AX24. So I was just looking at these plugs in this servo mount and I was thinking there's no way that's going to fit the AX. Because if it doesn't, it's not for it. So disregard the servos. We're going to have to do these with a different project on the FCX24. All right, here's our crazy looking chassis so far. So we got the axles all on. Linkage feels pretty good. I guess now I got to figure out where my shock position is going to go at this point. We'll put it together here and see what it looks like, but I don't know. This is going to be quite alien when we get it done. All right, so I'm going to put my shocks into position here where I think they're good, and then that should be the final product. Oh yes, I got to mount up our tires on these crazy wheels too. All right, my friends, here we are with this chassis pretty much finished. I got to put the nose piece on in the front and do the wheels and tires. Just looking at this thing, and it's got to be so top heavy. I mean, oh man, I don't know. I had to take the springs out because it was sitting even worse like that. I mean, the thing was so tall. So I took the springs out. We'll see how this sits. It is interesting looking, I will say that. So I'm going to put the nose piece on now, finish up the wheels, but just wanted to show you where I was at with this thing. So before I get going on the wheels, I figured I'd weigh these things for you guys. So we had 26 grams for the rear wheels that had that brass ring. Now these front ones with the inserts, 32 grams. Alright guys, so trying to mount these wheels, I'm having a terrible time here because they just don't fit my tires. I just cannot get them to hold the bead. They just pop right out both sides. So I'm kind of stuck here. I might try some different tires, but this is kind of discouraging. I'll have to see what I've got that could fit. Alright my friends, so went through my bin of tires, tried some Little Guy Racing parts, a couple Enduras, and it was the Power Hobby Mud Bosses that fit the wheels. So I've got my rears are all assembled here. These are vented. I just threw in a squishy foam that I had on hand for the rears. I've put that crazy insert in the front. It's very hard. So I've got conformity with the tire because it conforms around that insert. But the insert itself is very, very hard. So it'd be interesting to see how this performs. To be determined. I got one more wheel to put together and then we'll fully assemble this thing. Behold the Alien AX24. What do you think? As I was putting this thing together, I thought it was really going to come out pretty heinously. But I gotta say, seeing it all together, still not my forte, I gotta say. But my son is going to love it, I think, and it just has a certain cool factor. Very futuristic, very space age. NexxSpeed has done it again. You know, they've pulled off this kind of reptilian, cyborg, futuristic, unique chassis. It is certainly unique, I'll give it that. I was really skeptical about how it was going to all come together with this kind of stack of electronics and the sloping, upward sloping roof. But I kind of dig it, I gotta say. The chassis with these rear suspension arms in the back, I was really, really skeptical of the design of this thing when I was putting it together, but it all came together surprisingly well. I'm really anxious to see how this thing performs. So why don't we get this on the indoor course, we'll hit our typical challenge lines, and we'll see how this thing does. Okay, here is the AX24 NexxSpeed version on the course. So maybe this thing running that Spectrum Firma system, still very jumpy, but you know, it's got plenty of power, which is what my son's gonna like. So we'll see how this does. It has almost like a dinosaur look to it. You see that? Like a pterodactyl. The way that has the nose on it and that roof has a very prehistoric, oh geez, there's that jump. Prehistoric reptilian look to it. I dig the colors. I like the white and the red. And the red wheels really set it off too. Managed to stick that line. That's a tough one. And actually crawls up the canyon pretty well. Okay. So far, it has already surprised me in terms of performance. That look, it's starting to really grow on me, guys. I gotta say, from certain angles, I really like it. I tried to bump it there. I didn't get my line. Oh gosh, that motor. There we go. So I point it in the right direction and get that thing unleashed, and then it goes. Oh! That is one of the things that irritates me the most about the AX24, is that it so abruptly wrecks itself, like out of nowhere. It flips over backwards or like jettisons itself off of the table. I gotta try to be more cautious now. It made it up the escalator. Not bad. I am surprised. Let's see how the thing side hills. We'll come across the chute here. Leaning pretty hard. Sticking though. We got no sidewall flex in those tires thanks to the inserts. And I just topple over at the end here. I think I can save it though. Oh, look at that. Now let's try going up the chute, see how it does on a vertical. This is about 36, 38 degrees and goes up to about 52 at the top. Pretty good, actually. And for our last challenge line, let's try Hell's Gate here. Oh my gosh, no way. I thought it was going to rip right up that. Still does pretty good. The Alien AX24 is making me eat my words here. I'm pretty impressed, actually. I did not want to like this thing looking at it, and now I really do. It's starting to really grow on me. I'm very surprised with the performance. Let's come around the corner. We'll do one more line. Get an understeer there on the core, see if I can correct it. Yeah, we did. Not bad. All right, I am surprised. Pleasantly surprised, I gotta say. Well, like it or hate it, you've got to give it to NexxSpeed for their bold design choices. This is definitely a big departure from the typical chassis and typical build style that we do. But opinions about the styling aside, let's talk about the kit and the components. So like other chassis kits and other components from NexxSpeed that we've used before, this one went together very well. Everything fit together. Great fit and finish. The anodized aluminum components look great. I will say that the 3D printed components, the 3D printing is a little rough. When pairing the 3D printed components with the anodized aluminum, it gives it kind of a weird contrast because you've got this very sharp, precision machined aluminum chassis with the beveled edges and the logo and everything on here. And then you've got the 3D printed components on here which fit the chassis really nicely, but the print quality is just a little rough. So it kind of is a mismatch of quality and fit and finish. But overall, the whole thing comes together. It's really neat looking. It's like half pterodactyl, half alien. It's just got such a neat look to it. It really grew on me. At first, I was not a fan. When I was putting this thing together, I'm sure you could probably hear it in my voice during the assembly, I was not digging this chassis kit. But seeing it all together, it actually has grown on me significantly, and driving it out on the rocks and on the indoor course, it really surprised me because looking at it and assembling it, I did not expect it to perform well at all. So I am pleasantly surprised with how this little thing performed. But all in all, this was another fun build from NexxSpeed. It's nice to do something different, something a little outrageous. I am sure Axel's going to love it. I can't wait to surprise him with it. But let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of the NexxSpeed kit? I am eagerly awaiting to hear your opinions on this chassis kit. I'll put the links in the description down below for all the parts that we used in this video. And as always, I thank you so much for your time. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so, and I will see you in the next video.